AI is rapidly changing the way that we work, but it's also forcing us to rethink what we want from work. What if in the future it's not all about finding the perfect job, but building a portfolio career? Grab your cup of tea and let's talk about how to build a more secure and fulfilling career. For such a long time, conversations in career development have centered around this idea of climbing the corporate ladder, this singular, one directional approach to your career. But now, with the acceleration of AI and its impact on so many industries and so many traditional roles, people are rethinking what it is that they are going to be doing in their career going forward. There is this heightened risk now around taking a particular career path because we don't know now where that career path is going to go. It is changing at this lightning speed. But at the same time, it's also a really exciting time to be working because there are so many opportunities that weren't necessarily a reality all that long ago. Careers have become a lot less linear and a lot more dynamic. Now, I discussed this idea of a portfolio career in my earlier episode on career security. I touched on the idea, but I really wanted to dedicate this episode to it because it has become increasingly more relevant because it's something that ticks a couple of really important boxes. It ticks this idea of strengthening your career security, but also strengthening your fulfillment in your career as well. And sometimes when we are thinking about how we can have a more fulfilling career, what we want to do next in our career, we can often take these big leaps into that next thing. We think about quitting our job and reinventing our career entirely. But sometimes you don't actually need a complete overhaul of your career. You just need to find more forms of work, the ones that align with you. So let's first talk about what a portfolio career is. It is this increasingly popular way of working where your career is made up of multiple roles or multiple income streams or multiple contributions or projects. It means that you aren't simply following the path of having a singular job title with a singular organization. You're building a portfolio. So instead of being defined by a particular role, you might instead have multiple roles. So this might be made up of, say, your core role. So this could be your role as a manager, as an executive, as a specialist, whatever it is that you are primarily doing. But then you might also have a freelancing role, for example. So this is where you might be a web developer or a writer on the side too. Maybe you are a consultant, a coach, a speaker. Maybe you are a part of boards or other advisory groups as well. Maybe you are a content creator. Maybe you have a business venture outside of your core role as well. Or maybe you have other investments as a part of your career. So the key here is that you aren't following this singular one directional path in your career. You are building this portfolio that adapts and evolves and grows as you do as well, as you build your skills, as you expand your interests as a professional. And this actually links really nicely to the idea of personal branding and how much this is becoming an increasingly popular concept as well. Because the idea of personal branding, when it is done well, is to think outside of your organization, to think outside of just your title and your current role in your current workplace, and take a broader lens to zoom out and see how you are actually contributing to your industry, how you're positioning yourself in your industry, how you are providing value to your industry because of the skills and expertise that you have. And this is why I love the idea of a portfolio career as it relates to personal branding, because it gets you to think outside of your current job with your current organization. It gets you to think about the other contributions that you could be making to your industry, to the community, because of the skills that you have to offer, while still giving your primary role attention as well. And what I also love about the idea of a portfolio career is that it's also moving with societal and cultural and technological trends as well. So, as technology evolves, as we have become more accustomed to working remotely, for example, or connecting with people on the other side of the globe for some of the work that we might do, the idea of a portfolio career really speaks to that beautifully, because it means that so many more opportunities have opened up for you. So while it can feel daunting when you think about the impact that things like AI are going to have on the future of working and the future of careers, it's almost that it is pushing us in to having to find more valuable work, more fulfilling work, work that potentially takes several different forms, and that variety in itself could be more fulfilling for us because you're contributing your value and your expertise in different contexts instead of being singularly focused on one particular area. Which leads really nicely into my point number 2, and that is the investor's mindset. Now, the portfolio career most reminds me of investing. It seems like the most obvious connection to me anyway, because it really speaks to investing 101. We're told to diversify our risk, to not put all of our eggs into one basket when it comes to investing. Yet it seems that when it comes to our income and our career, perhaps what is the most important element of our day to day lives in terms of being able to survive day to day, we put all of our eggs into one basket. We don't think about diversifying our risk or diversifying our portfolio, diversifying our opportunity for growth. And the way that the world is evolving, it means that career security no longer comes from as strongly as it used to, just having this one job and staying with the one company that we plan to be with for the rest of our life. It now comes from different areas. It comes from being able to transfer our skills into a different context. It comes from building our professional reputation, building our personal brand beyond our titles. It comes from the networks and the opportunities that we are creating and growing. It comes from not being dependent on one single source of income or identity. And I think that that is a really important point as well, that it's not just about diversifying your income, diversifying your risk, but it's also about spreading your identity across your different areas of interest. Or again, not being so solely attached to one identity. Because what happens if you associate all of your self worth as a professional, maybe even personally as well, to your job title, to your current workplace? What happens if anything was to ever happen to that role? When you have a way that you can contribute value through diversified skills that you are also really good at, then that gives you an opportunity to have these multiple identities, identities that still align to your capabilities, your interests, your strengths, and then to also diversify your income, diversify your risks at the same time as well, having that investor mindset. And it is not just about, like I said, spreading your risk, it is about also increasing your opportunity for growth. You may end up with a much more thriving portfolio than had you ever stuck to just that one role and that one job and the income, say, that that was going to be able to provide you. And this is something that I have done for most of my career, though early in my career I wasn't actually trying to do this, it just came naturally. I've always had multiple sources of income. But now this is something that I feel that every professional needs to be giving serious thought to. It's now become something that no one can ignore. And that doesn't mean that we have to stretch ourselves completely thin. It just means to start to think about where those opportunities could lie. And they could take different forms. They may not necessarily be things that are all consuming and that you have to go home and then work your night job. It doesn't mean that you have to work every weekend. It could take several different forms. So, for example, this could be the executive who decides to also engage in consulting or in coaching. This could be the business owner who decides to become a podcast host. This could be the content creator who decides to take up paid speaking opportunities as well. So, what is it that you could do, and what is it that you can manage that allows you to diversify your career, to build that portfolio career? And this leads me to my point number 3, which is you are the niche. Now, this is something that you might have heard in personal branding, or you might have heard it in content creation. And I think this is a really good point because the people in the content creation space or the creator economy are really good at this idea of a portfolio career. They understand personal branding more than most. It is built in to what they have done as a career. They have built their own personal brands. They have created content around their personal brands. But what I think a lot of people, particularly in the professional space, can maybe miss about creators is that they're not just creating content. The best creators or the most successful creators have built a portfolio career. They have made their personal brands very commercially savvy. They are getting income from multiple streams. So, for example, they might get income from ads that play during their YouTube videos or in their podcasts. They might get income from their brand deals. So, the ads that they are promoting during their content. So, these are the ads, for example, that aren't automatic. These are the things that they are directly promoting during their content. They might also get partnership deals to work with organizations. So it's not necessarily just about the ads that are communicated during their content, but they are engaged for other reasons in projects or to attend particular events. They might also have products or services. So, in the product space, maybe they have merchandise, maybe they have tangible products that they are providing to their digital community. They're finding a way to make that experience physical as well. Or they may provide services. So they might, for example, offer consulting, coaching, they may have their own programs, they could have membership models or subscription models as a part of their community too. They could also have publishing deals. So, for example, they might have book deals, they might have multiple book deals, they might have deals with platforms like Spotify, for example. And an element of their income may also come from affiliation programs as well, where they are getting a percentage of sales that are a result of their audience and them sending their audience to particular products or services. And so much of the appeal of content creation for a lot of people comes from this idea that the people that are successful in this space are making money being themselves. They are capitalizing on their capabilities, on their expertise, on their creativity. And they're also doing it in a way that allows them to have more ownership in a lot of ways over their own life, to have more flexibility in their own life. And while this might feel like a new psychological shift, it probably represents something that has been, or that we have known, has been an enduring reality for a long time as to what people are looking for a more meaningful career. They want things that speak to and reflect potentially their different identities. So, them as a creative, them as a strategist, them as someone who excels in relationships, or as someone who is really good at being an entrepreneur. This also speaks really nicely to the idea of self determination theory, which says that we thrive when we have autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So, a portfolio career then supports all three of these ideas because you have autonomy when you have more control over your work, more choices and direction. You have competence through your variety of work, which can lead to faster learning and faster skill growth as well. And then you also have relatedness because you have more diversity, you have more opportunities to meet different kinds of people, to work on different projects, and to contribute in different ways. And this idea of a portfolio career is your opportunity to not only heighten your career security, but also do it in a way that creates more meaningful work for you as well. Thanks so much. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next episode.